would continue to get better. I would hope that the rule of law would continue to reign supreme. And so let's go to the states where the people really turned out in large numbers, although the states had always been around with all of the dramas. Well, we're going to be focusing on Kogi State on the show today. I'll be speaking to an APC stakeholder from Kogi State. But before then, let me speak to Mr. Parkin Jacob. Good evening. Thank you for joining us on the show today.
Thank you for having me on the show too.
Okay, quick one. You were with us on the show on, I think, on Friday, and then we had this conversation around what to expect in the election. We had the conversation around, are we expecting the people to turn out, understanding the fact that it's not just a regular election, it's an election that has a lot of illegal and constitutional issues around it. We also talked about the fact that the People's Democratic Party, the party ruling the state, was actually excluded in that by-election. And Mr. Parkin, 24 hours to the election, there were reports that some non-sensitive materials that were distributed to the rack centers did not arrive there on time. And on the Saturday of the election proper, words were flying around that the collation officer for a certain local government for the Just North Federal House of Representatives by election was suspended, and the INEC National Commissioner ordered for his arrest. Do you want to take us through all of these and why some of those elections were not conducted until about 6 p.m. yesterday?
Okay. With regard to let's start with the decision of the party. Plateau State conducting election in Plateau State is such a very fragile thing to do because of the long history of ethno-religious conflict. And for instance, the federal constituency just not Basa Federal Constituency have also been a bone of contention over people occupying these positions along religious lines. So each time elections are conducted, that has been the epicenter of the conversation, because it has always been either between a conversation between a Muslim base and a Christian that. So
Hello, Mr. Parkin. Hello. Okay, I think we lost our connection with that. We'll try and reconnect with him. I just want us to have, a quick brief of what really went down in respect to that particular election. I'm trying to reconnect to Mr. Parkin Jacob. Okay, hopefully he's going to join us at some point during the show. Okay, you're live on Milan 98.3 FM, and this is the Situation Room. I just want us to spend about 5-10 minutes talking about the by-elections conducted across a few states in Nigeria. Yes, okay, I have Mr. Parkin back on the line. Hello, good evening, welcome back to the show.
Lot of conversations around other candidates of different faiths were also. There were endorsement letters by different Muslim groups too. So the election got heated at that point. Of course, not until when a meeting was held that day, which we discussed on the show, where the stakeholders of the PDP, like me, I call it by his name, stakeholders of the PDP, under the leadership of Jonah Jan, met and agreed that since PDP is not on the ballot, they need to look for their plan B, which is someone, and the consideration that they gave was that if the governor, the minority leader who lost his seat is from Rio, the simple consideration here in the spirit of fairness is, why don't we take it back to Rio? And that is where they decided to bring somebody who we can't even remember what position he came at the last election. So he wasn't even anywhere close to it. And the decision was taken. So, to God be the glory, elections have been conducted and everything is fine and just. People are moving. But again, there were a couple of protests due to what happened. So, like for instance, election materials arrived at certain polling units insufficient. So a polling unit of about 1,000 and something, you could see just 700 ballot papers are brought in. And some of those ballot papers are no ballot papers for the Senate. That ballot papers for Senate are always complete, but that of the House of Reps are not complete. And people insisted in about 16 polling units, insisted that they are not going to allow anybody to conduct election until when these ballot papers are completed. So that brought a lot of back and forth until that election was also conducted in those places on Saturday. Then INEC then said, okay, with regard to that, they will be rescheduling they will be having the supplementary election on Sunday in those 16 polling units. After that period of time, even in some of those 16 polling units, some of those election materials are not yet at those polling units, which really sparked up some protests from those other sides. And funny enough, most of those sites that those election materials were not available were predominantly of the Christian side, which again began to generate controversy.
I understand.
As if the electoral umpire had already taken side and deliberately not wanting to conduct election in those places to give advantage to the other political parties. Now, there was a twist to it, that these election materials were complete, but they got missing under the watch of the electoral officer, which is the same person who, if you remember, in 2023, during the collation of results, the gubernatorial election, 14 BVAS machines were lost under his watch. Again, like a typical Nigerian situation where people get away with whatever that they do, they decided again to still leave him in that same position, which again he has done this. So, protest again on the other side of it, like I told you, there's the religious connotation and divide around it, and if you understand just very well, it has already been segregated along religious lines. So people within the other faiths were beginning to have these feelings that, election was reconducted in Christian sites simply because they want to give advantage to Christians. So they should just declare the result as it is because their candidate had already won. So that generated, but again, we appreciate the effort of the security. They were able to address this whole thing, like they dominated the entire space, that nobody could really be involved in some rascalious attitude until when this election was declared at the early hours, at the late hours of the day.
Okay, but as it stands now, I've seen the announcements by the returning officers for the election. Everything is peaceful, or are we done with the election? Has everybody moved on? Because I've already seen congratulatory messages, left, right, and center. But in a minute, before I let you go, because I have my guest on standby already, the whole switch that happened between Friday and the reported endorsement of certain candidates by, the PDP, did that in any way tell you anything about the state of the state and where the loyalty of the people actually lies?
Very obvious, very, very obvious. Now, it did not just talk about the loyalty of the people, but it speaks so loudly about the political consciousness in Plateau State. And this has been the conversation of people, where you get to see there was a general consensus by those stakeholders who met and said, let us go ahead and do ADP for Senate. There was no room for campaign, there was no room, because it was the last day that campaigns were to have stopped.
Was when they
now they went say for House of Reps, let us do Labour Party. For that alone, so when you check the voting, Labour Party, people were able to understand that this is Labour for Senate, this is Labour, this is who to vote. And for House of Assembly, House of Reps, this is who to vote. So it talks about political consciousness, and this is not the first time that this is happening in Plateau State. Even after the last election, you get to see that Plateau State was Plateau State delivered Peter Obi of the Labour Party. But on the same election day, they were able to produce Senate for PDP in Plateau North, while House of Reps were produced at different levels across the state. This will tell you that the people would always know who to vote. except they just decided. And that is why they would always tell you that yes, the code of public opinion is very crucial. But there are also people like what happened at the last this rerun election. It shows that the will of the people can also be told allow a certain thought, especially if there's a sentiment. It is purely PDP people that went ahead and supported those other people to declare the ADP and the Labour Party guy. And that is why there are pictures running around where the party House of Reps, the member-elect, went to Jonathan and was appreciating more or less like to Dobale for him to show to the people that without you, I wouldn't have been a member House of Reps.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Parkim Jacob. He is the president of the Peace Practitioners Network in Plateau State, a coalition of NGOs and civil society organizations that deals with mediation, alternative dispute resolutions and all of that. Thank you for joining us on the show today, and thank you for telling us the state of things on the Plateau. And stay safe. Okay, welcome back. You're still live on Mila 98.3 FM, the sound of Lagos. I had to quickly link up, with my contacts in Jos to find out the state of things in respect to the by-election that was conducted in the state. And like I said in my intro, the by-election came with a lot of drama at the exclusion of the People's Democratic Party on the eve of the election. And of course, the fact that the PDP actually released a public statement informing their members to support a certain candidate that was, I think he came sixth in the original senatorial election. Well, he is the senator-elect. His name is Pam Mwadkon. He's the senator-elect, and they also decided to support the Labour Party candidate Daniel Asama. For the House of Representatives, he also won the election. Interesting states, interesting dramas, interesting twists and turns for that state. Let's keep our fingers crossed. We just hope that the relative peace that is being enjoyed in the state as it is now will be sustained. I said earlier on, the